Great, I'll start it now.
Yep.
Get these attendees in here. All right. Morena Tato. Welcome to another Q&A event here at Digital Boost. I'm Georgia Hatchis, and today we're lucky enough to have James Rollins with us again from the website Guardians. If you don't know James, pop onto our Digital Boost site, check out some of the other Q&As that he's done in the past. We've got signs that your website has been hacked, 8 simple ways to protect your WordPress website. James, website Guardians, and I know you're going to tell us about it a little bit, basically deals with WordPress websites, but what we're going to learn about today, which is getting your online store ready for busy season, pretty much is across the board for all platforms. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah. So this talk is generic for everyone who has a website, no matter which platform that you're using. So hopefully you all get some value out of it.
Yeah. And Website Guardians, my understanding is it's a security and maintenance website for WordPress, and you are like head guardian angel, or James, yes, the head guardian angel, coming in and helping us out today. But today, instead of talking about security, we're going to cover the maintenance part of it. So we're going to talk about making sure website is fast, responsive, stays online, so nothing crashes, you can get all your sales and people can come through. So I'm going to let you take it away. I'm here on questions, so please pop into the chat, jump into the Q&A, ask your questions. James is the expert, and we want to get his insight on this. So take it away.
All right. Thanks, Georgia. Welcome, everyone. So today, like Georgia said, we're going to be talking about aspects of website optimization and keeping it online and all that good stuff, but also a few other non-website things that you need to make sure you've got ready for the busy season. So you've got Black Friday coming up, and then followed by Cyber Monday. And of course, you've got Christmas and Boxing Day not that long after that. So let's...
It's crazy. It feels like the end of the year is here. Like, how did that happen?
Yes. Yeah, but I feel like I say that every year, and every year I say it earlier and earlier and earlier. So
absolutely.
Yeah, the Christmas things are still already in the supermarkets. So yes, you need to start planning and getting ready, even though it's the start of October.
I almost feel like it's because we didn't have a summer last year, or what it felt like we didn't have a summer last year. So the second the sun comes out, everyone's saying, okay, Christmas is finally here. We haven't had one for 2 years. This is real Christmas. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Sun is good. Hopefully it's going to be a better summer than the last one.
Oh.
All right, let's crack in. So just a general disclaimer, all of this is very general. Hopefully you get some stuff out of it, but some of it will apply to your website, some won't. If you have any questions about your website specifically, then please feel free to reach out afterwards. My contact details will be on the last slide. So just a quick run through of what we're going to cover. We're just going to talk about, I guess, kind of everything you sort of need to start thinking about for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So that's making sure you've got a goal, working on your offers, your marketing, the website, obviously. Now, most of the presentation will be focused on the website. If you have questions around the marketing and some of the post-sale things to do, then definitely check out some of the other Digital Boost talks. There's a lot of talks around doing Facebook ads and Google ads and all that kind of stuff, and social media. So there's tons of resources there, so make the most of it. We're going to cover a little bit about some things to do post-sale and after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And then we'll finish off with a review of everything. So just a little bit about myself and Website Guardians. As Georgia alluded to, we do security and maintenance for WordPress sites. So what that means is that if you have a WordPress site, basically there's some maintenance that you need to do on it. Like all assets in your business, your website needs some TLC. We basically do that TLC for you so that you don't have to worry about it. We make sure your website stays online. We keep it secure and running and working for your business. So if you do have any questions about what you need to be doing for your website, then again, either check out my previous Digital Boost talks, or reach out to me afterwards and I can provide some advice. So why are we talking about Black Friday? So Black Friday is obviously quite a new or relatively new sales event in New Zealand. It comes out of the US, but it is now bigger than Boxing Day. So Boxing Day always used to be our busiest sales day, but it's now Black Friday, Cyber Monday combined. Definitely, they're bigger than Boxing Day, not just in total volume, but also Shopify shared an interesting stat that the average sale value is increasing every year. Now, obviously, with the economic environment, that might change this year. So that's important to keep in mind when you're doing your planning. But Black Friday is growing. It's also not just about Friday anymore. It's about the week before, the month before. Some companies are doing, all of November is their Black Friday sale. So it is getting bigger. So you need to be part of it. Right? You need to be getting your name out there. You need to be taking part in Black Friday because consumers these days are expecting you to be part of Black Friday. So the first step is basically have a goal, right? Like all projects, you've got to have a goal so you can judge at the end whether it worked or not. So that goal might be you want a certain number of sales. It might be you want a certain volume of sales. Maybe you're going to run quite steep discounting so that you're sort of at a break-even level rather than a profit level, and you're just trying to get more customers in the door, get them into your database so then you can remarket to them for Christmas. So just have a think what you want to achieve. Put down some absolute numbers. I want 1,000 sales. I want to do $50,000 worth of revenue. I want 300 new customers. Put it down, have the goal, have a number, because then at the end you can judge, okay, we were successful, we weren't successful, and you can do it like just a review process of what worked, what didn't work, so that next year you can have an even better Black Friday. Although also, once you've got Black Friday, obviously you can do that review for Christmas, and you basically, all the stuff you do for Black Friday, you're going to repeat in a month's time. So having a goal is important. It just helps you with that little bit of focus. The next thing to think about is what offers are you going to have? Now, this does feed into your website in a way, depending on the sort of offers you want to do. So obviously you got things that you're just going to do a straight discount, certain percentage off, or are you going to do things like bundling your products, so selling 2 products as a single product? Are you going to do a buy 3, get 1 free, or buy 3, get this other thing for free? Or are you going to do a joint venture and partner with someone else? So maybe you promote their products, they promote your products. Having a think, if you're going to do that, but you're going to do the sale on your website, then you need to make sure you get their products onto your website. So you need to make sure you get all of their imagery and their descriptions and the price, and make sure you've got everything sorted between you for that. The reason I bring up the things like the bundles and the buy X, buy 3, get 1 free, is that out of the box, your website may not support that. So you may need to add in a plugin or an extension, depending on which platform you're using. So you're gonna want to do that now so that you can test it and make sure it works. Another thing on the bundling, I have seen people where they've got 2 products and they want to bundle them, so they just create a new product in the back end, and they know that it's both of those products. But what that does is it impacts the stock calculations, because if you do a bundle, if you use a proper bundling software, so say you've got widget A and widget B, when someone buys the bundle, it will decrease the stock for widget A by 1 and widget B by 1. If you create a new product that is widget A and widget B, when they buy that bundle, it won't decrease the stock levels of widget A and widget B, and you might find yourself in that awkward situation of customers buying something that you no longer have in stock. So it's important that you set these bundles and these deals and offers up correctly. And like I said, you might need to add a plugin or extension to do that. There's plenty of those out there. You just need to try some, test it, make sure that it works for you. Ideally have a staging site or a sandbox or something that you can test it on first. But make sure that it works, and it works how you want it, and that it reports the information through to you how you want it, that it's in a usable format. And the other thing here is be creative, right? It's your business, your customers, your products. Just think about what will appeal to them. And if you can do something a little bit different, then that's going to get you noticed. Everyone does 20% off. So what can you do that's different? And then just make sure that your website and your back office and all of that can support those offers. The third thing to do here is plan your marketing. Now, this is not my area of expertise, so please go and check out the other Digital Boost resources. But I did pull together a few things that you need to think of. So creating all your ads, creating all your social media posts. So obviously you want to have a plan. Don't just go and create random posts, but have a plan, but get the posts written, get the creative, the images, get them made. If you're using a graphic artist, or even if you're using Canva or something else, get all those assets ready now, because you don't want to be come the Thursday before Black Friday suddenly realizing, oh, I need that image. And especially if you're outsourcing, if you use a graphic design contractor or a company, all of their other clients are also trying to get stuff ready for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So get in early so that you've got everything. And the other thing I've just added on here is making sure you warm up your email list. So if you have an email list, if you don't have an email list, start creating an email list. And again, there's some talks on Digital Boost about doing that. But if you have an email list and you haven't been very good at emailing them, so it's kind of gone a little bit cold, start emailing them now. So don't email them about Black Friday, but start emailing them, reminding them about who you are and why they signed up. Maybe offer them a little 10% code to get them back to your website. And this is going to do two things. One, it's going to improve the deliverability of your email when it comes to sending up any emails around Black Friday. The other thing it's going to do is when they see your email come in for Black Friday, they're going to remember who you are. All right. Remember, your customers are going to get hundreds of Black Friday emails. So if they don't recognize you immediately, then they're just going to delete it. So if you haven't been sending out those emails and keeping that list warm, come up with a little plan and start now.
I think that's a great point, James. And I just wanted to point out that last Tuesday's Q&A with Gavin Hewitson from Inbox talked a lot about email marketing, and we're bringing him back this Thursday for a workshop. So if you haven't signed up for that, this is my opportunity to say, sign up now for these warm-ups for your email list. And you can ask Gavin about all of that, and he can help you come up with a plan. So thank you for mentioning that, James. That's great.
Yeah, so definitely, if you don't have the email list, if it's cold, sign up for that workshop on Thursday. And with all these things, get help. Don't try and do it all yourself. There's heaps of resources out there. And so moving on, the next step is about the website. So I'm actually going to jump over this one, and we're going to come back and go through the website part in detail. The next thing is think about what you do after you've sold the product, or after you've sold everything online. So this is as simple as making sure you have enough inventory, planning, how much you're expecting to sell, making sure you've got that on stock, or that your supplier's got it in stock. If you're expecting to boost your, double, triple your orders, which is not unusual for Black Friday, just make sure you've got the processes in place to be able to handle that. The other thing, again, with the email, so again, attend the workshop on Thursday to ask any questions you've got about this, but making sure you've got those follow-up sequences of, thank you for buying from us, getting the reviews, getting feedback, and keeping those leads warm for Christmas. Because you want to give them an amazing experience now. So then in the lead up to Christmas, they've still got that glow of, I had a great experience, then they're more likely to purchase from you again. And also follow-ups for people who don't buy anything. So, especially if you've got cart abandonment software or a plugin, that kind of stuff, just following up with people, reminding them that stuff's still in the cart. Maybe you offer them the Black Friday discount a little bit longer, or you go and ask them, hey, why didn't you buy? But keep those people warm as well. If you can find out why they didn't buy, that's a bonus. But I find people will focus on, okay, customers bought something, here's the email sequence. There's all the customers or potential customers who didn't buy something as well that you need to be aware of and have a plan for reaching out and keeping them those leads warm as well.
And I have to say, James, that tactic is a really good one. I mean, I know for myself when I'm, shopping in the middle of the night when I shouldn't be, and I put things in my cart and go, no, I'm not going to pull the trigger on this one. I'm not going to pull the trigger. And then the next day I get something in my inbox that says, oh, we noticed you left something in your cart. We'll give you 10% off. Here's an extra 10% off. And I'm like, sold. Okay. Meant to be, it's a great tactic. Yeah,
it is. Obviously, you want to be careful about how you do it, because if people know that if they leave it in your cart, they'll get a 10% discount, then they'll start leaving stuff in their cart.
Fair enough. Yep.
Yeah. And I do actually have one of the steps later on about the websites covers that a little bit as well. So the final thing is just making sure you spend some time to have a review. So, treat it like a project. You're going to do all these 6 steps. You're going to put all this work in. Hopefully you're going to have a great Black Friday, Cyber Monday period. Make sure you have a review. Did you hit your goal? Why didn't you hit your goal? What worked well? What didn't work well? What are you going to do again? What are you going to try next time? Because if you can do all that straight afterwards, that's when it's all fresh in your mind. It's before you hit the Christmas rush and it drops off the radar. Because what you want to have is that list of, okay, here's 5 things that work. Here's 3 things I'm going to try for Christmas. Come up with that plan so that in the start of December, obviously that's just after Black Friday, but December, when things start getting busy, life gets busy, retail gets busy, you don't have to think about it. You just know, yep, I've got to do this and this and this and this to get those Christmas sales as well. Cool. Do we have any questions at this stage before I get into the website part of things?
Right now, I don't see anything. If any of you have questions, you can pop them into the Q&A. But I was just going to make a comment, James, if anyone has questions and wants to pop them in. I want to say it's so interesting for me in my experience with this kind of marketing with Black Friday and then Christmas. So Black Friday has always been this idea of like, get your Christmas shopping done early at a discounted rate. And then people forget, like you buy some stuff, mostly you shop for yourself. And then Christmas comes around and then you've got that rush to do that Christmas shopping. And the great thing for your website, if you are a retail website, is right before Christmas, you usually don't have your discounts. So you're getting people to buy at full retail price, which is,
yes.
So this is a nice warm up for that.
Hard deadline.
Yeah.
I guess on that point, thinking through things as well, like what is your returns policy and can you change it? Because I know, like, for example, I've got kids. I'm not buying kids' Christmas presents at the end of November because they will have changed their mind by the end of Christmas or by Christmas. So I don't want to buy something that's got a 30-day return that I then have to try and return before Christmas. Or that's going to stop me buying. Whereas you might think, oh, actually over Black Friday, we're going to give you a 60-day return so that people can buy those Christmas presents with confidence, knowing that they'll be able to return them if it's not going to work or the person doesn't like it. Or so it's just something else to keep in mind. And again, it's that differentiation. Maybe you can do something like that and you don't have to offer as big a discount.
That's a great point. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No questions so far.
Cool. All right. We'll move on. So this, the website stuff, this is my bread and butter. This is the stuff that I love doing. So it's going to be relatively platform agnostic. Some things will apply for some platforms and not others. Again, if you've got any questions, reach out afterwards. But I'll try and clarify as I go along about, if it's not going to work for one of the major platforms. So the first thing is setting up your offers. Now, this follows on from what I mentioned before about, if you're going to add bundles or you're going to add the buy 3, get 1 free or, free gift with purchase, those sorts of offers. A lot of the e-commerce platforms don't necessarily support that out of the box. You need to add a plugin or extension to do it. So this is what you want to do that now. Now you can set it up and turn it off. Some of them also have dates where you can say, this special applies from, the 20th of November to the 1st of December or whatever you choose. But set it up now, test it, make sure that it works, because you don't want to, right on the eve of you're about to send out your Black Friday email, you got to add the offer and realize you've got to, I need to install a bit of software, and then you've got that panic and you stress, and then you might make a mistake. Do it now while you got a bit of time. Again, like there's quite a few extensions and plugins and things that do the bundling and the other offers. You want to find one that works for you. So things you want to look at is, obviously, is it compatible with what you sell? How does it add the offers in? Like if you add it in, do you then have to make some design changes to your website, or does it add it in and it looks pretty good? It looks, it matches the design of the rest of your website. Like you don't want to have a website where your color scheme is mostly, say, green, and then you add a bundle in and it adds a bright red button, for example. Just little things like that. Obviously, do you need to pay for it or not pay for it? I'm always an advocate of, usually with the paid extensions comes support. So that means if you're having issues setting up, you can reach out to the plugin developer and you'll get quite a good response. With a lot of the free plugins and extensions, is sort of relying on the community to provide answers, or it might take a while for the plugin developer to get back to you. And obviously, we're at mid-October, you don't have a while for the plugin developer to get back to you. So just keep that in mind. Try a few. If you are on WooCommerce, then reach out to me afterwards. I can provide some specific advice for WooCommerce, because as was mentioned earlier, like WordPress, WooCommerce, that ecosystem, that's my specialty. But Shopify and Squarespace, Wix, which do have e-commerce functionality, there will be plugins and extensions in those ecosystems as well to do this. Cool. Once you've got those offers set up, you need to test. So there's a lot of stuff about testing in here. And again, you want to do this early. Ideally, you want to do it on a staging site. So that's a staging site is where you take a copy of your live site and you basically make a copy. So people can still visit your website. They're going to see no changes. You're not going to impact it. You're not going to break anything. On the staging website, you'll have a really funny looking URL. And then you can try new things. You can test plugins. You can delete plugins, all that stuff. If you break anything, you can just make a new copy of the production site. But the other thing it will do is it's going to let you know what steps you need to take to get everything looking like it should for the Black Friday sale. So, for the sale, for example, you're going to want to change your hero image. You're going to want to change the featured items. Maybe you're going to want to highlight the bundles or the extended warranty or extended return period, that kind of stuff. So just go through and create that page. Some platforms you can create it and then you can just turn it off, and then come the time, you can just turn it on and set that to be your homepage. Other platforms, you might have to just wait and sort of recreate it just beforehand.
Can you turn it on and off on WordPress? Is that something that WordPress does?
So you can with WordPress. What you could do is duplicate your homepage, set everything up. So put the assets and the the text and all that stuff on the page, and then come just before Black Friday, you go into your options, your appearance, and say this is now the homepage, and it will show that. What is a bit harder to test is like which featured items show up, because you have to mark an item as featured in WooCommerce. And same with the other platforms, you've got to say like, these are my featured items. And if your theme highlights those, then obviously it'll start highlighting them before Black Friday, which you may or may not want to do.
Right.
Another thing that's important is if you are offering discounts, is make sure it's obvious that there's a discount, especially on the homepage. So whether that's the little badge in the top, top corner of the product image that says 20% off, or you show the price with it crossed out and the new sale price next to it. Just testing all of those things to make sure it's how you expect it to be and how you'd like it to be. Another thing that's really important, again, testing, make sure that your order form works, make sure that you can actually, run through and do an order. If you're using, say, Stripe as your credit card processor, Stripe has a test mode. So you can go into your payment settings, you can set Stripe to be test mode. Then you can basically go through, do an order. They give you a special credit card number to use. And from the website's perspective, it looks like a successful order. So you can just test, again, just make sure everything looks as you expect it to be. This is one of these things that you tend to forget to do. It's something you should be doing regularly. And this is a great reminder of, like, just go through, make sure your cart page still looks like you want it to look like, that the checkout page looks like you want it to look like, that, maybe you did an upgrade of WooCommerce during the year, for example, and it added a new field somewhere. So just testing, make sure everything looks as you'd like it to be. If you do use that Stripe test mode, please take it off test mode as soon as you've finished testing so that you don't lose any orders. And also test the contact form. Make sure your contact form still works. Pop-up. So again, this was alluding to that 10% discount we talked about earlier with the cart abandonment. If you have one of those pop-ups that says sign up for our mailing list and get 20% off your first purchase, you may want to take that off if everything in the store is already on sale. It's partly because you're going to add that little bit of confusion. Like, is it 20% off the normal price? Is it 20% off the discounted price? If I'm buying something that's 25% off, do I get 20% off or 25% off? That just adds that little bit of confusion to the customer's mind, which you don't want to do. You want to make it as easy as possible. The other thing is, the purpose of those pop-ups is usually to get people on an emailing list. You've already got a big sale on, so you just want to get people into the store to see your amazing offers. Like, don't put anything in the way at this point. You can always turn it back on later, but yeah, go through and test it. Make sure you do this in a private window or an incognito window in your browser, because if you visit your website regularly, you've probably seen the pop-up and you've closed it. And often, once you've closed it, either you won't see it again or you won't see it again for 30 days. So you might not even realize it's still on there. But if you go into an incognito window, it's just like you're a new visitor to your website. Again, along the lines of testing, just make sure all your analytics is working, make sure all your tracking pickles are working, especially if you're going to be running ads, so that you know which ads are working and which ads are not. Yeah, so jump into Google Analytics, your Meta Business Suite, whatever tools you're using, just go in, double check that it's all working. Again, this is one of these sort of regular maintenance tasks that you should be doing, but tends to drop off people's radar. So it's a good reminder just to double check everything's working before you hit this busy period, because the last thing you want to do is get to the end of the period and your analytics weren't working, so you have no idea what your conversion rate was, what was working, how people were going through the site, what the popular products were, all that really useful information for being able to increase your sales again next year. Testing on mobile. This is a big one. Sort of Shopify stat that 2/3 of sales last year were on a mobile device. So you need to make sure your website is responsive, that it looks right on mobile, that you don't have any funny padding issues where there's too little padding or too much padding, or some text is overlaying an image. That can sometimes happen. Like, it looks fine on desktop, but then when you scale it down, sometimes a few little bits and pieces can get missed. So make sure you test on mobile. It's also important here, if you're testing on a desktop, you can put your browser into mobile mode, so you can make it look like a mobile device. It's also beneficial to actually test it on a physical phone. Absolute bonus if you can test on Android and iPhone. But yeah, test on desktop, but make sure you test on mobile. Again, go through, do a test order, make sure that it's clear, that it's easy to fill out the form, that the buttons are big enough, all those things. you want to make it as easy as possible. All right, speed. Now this is, again, so, as well as doing the security and maintenance, we also do optimization of websites from a speed perspective. And this is really critical. I have a couple of questions to just highlight this. Does anyone know what percentage of people abandon a website if it takes more than 3 seconds to load? I don't know if I've got any answers coming through. This one I found amazing. 40%.
Whoa. So just if it takes longer than 3 seconds,
They're gone.
40
They'll go elsewhere.
40% of us are like, squirrel brain has gone somewhere else.
Yep. Yeah, exactly that.
Wow.
Yeah. And one thing that's important to note here is that these won't necessarily show up in your analytics. Because if you're running, say, Google Analytics, which is JavaScript and it's browser, it's client side, so that only fires once the page is fully loaded. If people are abandoning the page before it's loaded, you won't get all of that data. So you might see this nice, I got 100 visitors. You're not seeing the fact that you could have had 140.
Wow.
So it's huge. And also, like, think about people's behavior. Lots of people, they'll, whether it's a Google search result or their ads, they're not just clicking on your ad, they're clicking on all the other ads that they see, or multiple links in a Google search result, and they're opening up multiple tabs. They're just going to go to whichever one loads first. If yours has still got that little spinny thing and someone else is loaded, they'll go to that other one. And if it's got what they'll want, they may not come back to yours. So even if it has loaded and it shows up in your analytics, they might just close the tab. So performance is crucial. Another interesting stat is for every 1 second delay in the page loading and being able to be used is a massive 7% drop in conversions. And like 7%, that's almost 1 in 10, right? And that's per second. So if it's 2 seconds or 3 seconds, 3 seconds is 21%.
Oh, wow. So it multiplies.
Multiplies. Yeah. And don't forget that at that 3 second point, you've also already lost 40% of the people because they've abandoned the page. So
I'm laughing, James, because I'm thinking about when the internet, I remember when the internet first started, everybody. I know I look good for my age, but listen, we used to dial up and it took us ages for the dial up to happen. And now it's like 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, not interested. So fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. And there's some crazy stats as well around. You have web pages now that are, the file sizes are larger than like applications used to be. I don't know.
Of course. Yeah.
Back in the day, and the file size for that whole game is smaller than the average web page now. So
oh my God. Yeah. I know. Okay. All right. Done with the old people talk.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah. Things have changed, and things are always changing. And that's what's so exciting about the industry, is that things are always changing. They're always, I would say, they're improving. You have faster processing speeds, faster download speeds. But also with that comes an increase in squirrel brain, as you mentioned before. So you need your website to load fast to capture the customer. And then obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff around what's on the page and getting them to stay on the page. That's out of the scope of this talk. We're going to focus on the speed here because it has a massive impact and people don't realize. And a lot of that's because that 40% abandonment rate, that data you never see. So what can we do? First thing to do is do a test. And there's a really useful tool called gtmetrics.com. What I suggest you do is sign up for the free plan before you start this, because what that lets you do is keep, I think it's 7 days worth of results. And what it will let you do is do a test and then make some of the changes we're about to talk about. And then you can do another test just to get an idea of what improvements you've got. When you go to do your test, You can set the location of where the test is done from. So I suggest, if you're mainly targeting people in New Zealand, set the test to run from Sydney, which is the closest location. If you test from, say, London, it's going to skew your results because London is far away and data might move fast, but it does have a noticeable impact. So this is just a result of what a results page looks like. Underneath this, you get a pretty picture of, it shows like snapshots of like at, 0 seconds and half a second and 1 second and 1.5 seconds, what it all looks like. And then under that, it will give you some suggestions on things that are slowing down your website. I deliberately didn't include it here because I didn't want people to get focused on what those things come up, because they will vary per website. They tend to be fairly technical in nature. So if you do get stuck, and please feel free to reach out. On some of the issues, it does have some little suggestions about like try installing this plugin or try reducing image size, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a great guide of where to start looking on how to improve the website. Another point to make is don't try and get 100% on those performance and structures, because the 80-20 rule applies here. You'll get, the first 2 or 3 things you do will probably have a massive impact for not a huge amount of time or money invested. Trying to get those last 2 or 3% is going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort for not necessarily much return. The difference between a 97% performance and 100% performance is not going to be that great. I know before I was saying that every second counts, and every second does count. But you do, like all these things, you have to weigh up costs and benefits.
And I'll just add to that, James, that we do have a tool on the Digital Boost website called Checkable, which also can check your optimization, your website speed, and it will give you a report the same as that. So
yes, it will. And I think under the hood, they all use the same Lighthouse metrics from Google anyway. So you'll get the same results out of Checkable, and Checkable also does a bunch of other extra things to check as well around social media and stuff. So yeah, definitely worth having a look at. So now just going to run through, I guess, some sort of specific things that you can do to try and optimize the website. So once you've tested it and you've got kind of your baseline, so the first thing to do is look at image size. So I see people, they will upload a massive image, it's like desktop size, and it's really high resolution, and they're just using it as a little thumbnail on their website. So what happens is, you send the request to the server and it's got to send back data. And the more data it has to send back, the longer your page is going to take to load. So you want to make sure your images are all optimized. Now, some tools will do this automatically. So if you're using Shopify, for example, it's going to automatically scale the images for you. WordPress will, when you upload an image, it creates a bunch of different sizes of the image, and it tries to send the correct size. So it will send the thumbnail image. But if you give it a massive image to start with, there's only so much it can do. So I always recommend optimizing the images either before you upload, or there are some image optimization plugins that will take those images, send them off to a third-party server to crunch them and optimize them and send them back. If you've got lots of images to do, those tools are really good. Because they'll do it fast, and they do a really good job these days. If you're just going to be doing it manually, there's a tool called tinypng.com, which is great. You pull it up and you just drag the image in, and it'll optimize it, and then you can download the optimized image. The next thing you need to do is, and again, do this early, because you don't want to be doing this just before a busy period, so Black Friday or Christmas. Make sure your plugins, extensions, add-ons, whatever that, make sure they've all been updated. There's a few reasons for this. One is there might be new features, but you might also have, there'll be security updates, there'll be speed optimizations that happen So always just make sure you're running the latest version. Again, if you could do it on a staging site or in a sandbox environment, do that first, test it, make sure nothing is broken. But yeah, get everything up to date now. And then you just have to keep an eye out if there's a massive security release between now and Black Friday, then obviously do a security release. But you probably don't need to do any minor updates. You just want to keep got it working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. And then after Black Friday, once the rush is over, then you can go through and do the updates. If you're on WordPress, a new version of WordPress has just been released with a few security updates. So you want to make sure you get onto that and get that updated. Also related to plugins and extensions and add-ons and those sorts of things. Delete any ones that you're not using. It's just, again, we're just trying to reduce any bloat, anything that's going to slow the website down. So I don't just mean delete any that are inactive. Actually go through and check that you're still using it. I had a client that I looked at and they were using 3 plugins that did exactly the same thing. So obviously we can get rid of 2 of those. We just work out which one they like the best, keep that one, get rid of the other 2. Again, just keep it lean. And this doesn't just have benefits for your performance, it's also got benefits from the security side of things as well. Next is, this is a bit of a bigger one and a little bit harder to do, which is checking your hosting. Now, if you're on some really cheap hosting, there's a chance that it's not going to handle lots of people coming to your website very well.
So James, define hosting for me. Tell me exactly what.
So hosting is basically where your website lives on the internet. So it's a computer somewhere where your website sits, and then when people type in your URL, your browser basically finds out where that computer is, goes to that computer and says, hey, give me the page.
Got it.
Now, if you're using a hosted platform like Shopify or Squarespace or Wix, this doesn't apply. They do all of this for you. It's more if you're using what we call a self-hosted platform. So WordPress, Magento, Joomla, there's several others as well. Yeah, make sure you have good hosting. So one thing to look at when you do the GTmetrix test is see what something called, it shows you when you first get a response from the server. So if that's really big, and then you add caching, which is the next thing, and it's still really big, then you might want to look at, okay, can we either upgrade our hosting? So, stay with that same hosting company, but maybe go on a bigger plan with more resources, or do we need to look to move to another hosting company? Another thing to test is the capacity. And this is quite a bit harder to test because you really need to get a specialist tool, and what that will do is act like 10, 20, 30 visitors visiting your website at once. And it's not just checking the homepage. You need to visit the homepage and then add to cart, and then add another thing to cart, and then check out, and do those sorts of things, because they test the database as well. And like I said, if you're on really cheap hosting, there's a chance that you get 2 or 3 people trying to do that at once. It might start to fall over, or it might start getting really slow, for example. So it's worth just having a look at. Moving hosting providers is not, it's relatively easy these days because there's migration plugins and that kind of stuff, but definitely get some help and advice around doing it so that you do it correctly. And whether that's getting someone like myself or the new hosting company, quite often they have a migration service where they will move the website over and get everything configured for you. So you can take advantage of that.
But you wouldn't probably recommend doing that this month. Or are you saying if that needs to happen, do it now? I'm
saying if it needs to happen, do it now.
Got it.
Because what you don't want to happen is your website fall over under load.
Yeah.
And again, it's your website. You know how many visitors you've got. You know how much advertising you're going to be doing. As part of that planning, you get a rough idea of how many visitors you're going to get. And if it's thousands and thousands, if you're going to go big and you're going to spend lots of money and put a real effort in, and you're expecting thousands and thousands and thousands of visitors, then you need to do some testing to make sure that your website's going to handle the load. If you're on the smaller end and maybe your email list is only a couple of hundred people, you may not need to do this because you're not going to get that big spike in traffic. Yeah, this is very much the site-specific general advice one, but it is often overlooked when people try and do the speed optimization is the actual hosting provider as well. So just something to think about. And like I said, feel free to reach out or ask a question now, and I can try and offer some advice. The next thing is caching. So caching is it's a way of increasing the speed of delivery of your website. Basically, what happens is usually when you go visit a website, there's lots of different bits that have to get pulled together to generate that page. So it's got to go to the database and get the list of products. It's got to go get the hero image. It's got to get some text, and it's got to stick it all together and then send the page to your browser. What caching does is it basically does all that sticking together in advance. So when you request the page, it's already been put together, so it can be sent back straight away. So again, if you're on one of the hosted platforms, there's probably not a huge amount you can do in this regard. They've got systems in place to already do this. If you're using a self-hosted platform, then just have a check, like what does your hosting company provide? So quite often hosting companies will provide a level of caching. Do you also need to add a plugin? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Check with the hosting company, because some hosting companies say yes and some say no because it clashes with their caching. Because the worst thing you want to do is have 2 or 3 different caches that are all kind of fighting each other. And the other thing you need to check is make sure that it will work with your e-commerce setup, because like I said before, it sticks everything together, which is fine for your homepage, which when everyone sees the same homepage. But once you start adding things to your cart, everyone's cart is going to be different. So just make sure that it is compatible with your e-commerce setup. Again, do some testing, talk to the developers. They'll be able to tell you there might be some specific configuration you need to do. Yeah, make sure you do all that as well. And that this can, again, have a big impact, positive impact on your performance. And another thing to look at with regards to caching is a service called Cloudflare, which now I recommend you use Cloudflare anyway, because they have a whole bunch of tools to help prevent denial of service attacks. You get all this caching and a CDN out of the box, which again just speeds things up for your customers. They have a free plan, for a certain volume of traffic. So if you're not using Cloudflare, I would recommend having a look at it. You have to do a bunch of stuff with your domain name DNS settings to get it to work. So if you're not comfortable doing that, then either reach out to Cloudflare or find someone who is comfortable doing it. Just keeping an eye on time here. We're coming to the end. I know it's been a lot. Like I said, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or watch the replay and take notes. After you've done all this optimization stuff, what you want to do is retest. Make sure it's worked. You don't want to be, you might have got a B before and then you don't want to retest and suddenly get a C because you've gone the wrong way. What I would say is run the tests a couple of times to get an idea of what the answer is, because especially with the caching, the first time you visit a page, it hasn't stuck that page together yet. So it's got to stick the page together. And when you do the test, if your test is the first one to visit the page, it's going to skew the results because it's going to be slower. So if you just test it a couple of times, it just ensures that all your caches have been filled. Cool. So in summary, basically have a goal, have a plan, and be prepared. Can apply to many things in life, but just have a plan. I know we've covered a lot, but definitely take advantage of Black Friday. It can be a massive boost. It might sound scary because you've got to offer a discount, but there's massive upside as well to taking part. So is there any questions?
Yeah, if anyone's got questions, here is your chance. I've popped a couple of links into the chat. We've got the Tiny PNG and Cloudflare. And James, I'm going to put the Website Guardians website also there.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. And we've got it here.
Yep.
Yeah. So James, tell people how they can reach you.
Yep. So the best thing to do is send an email, james@thewebsiteguardians.co.nz, or book a call with that Zoom link. We can jump on, have a 15-minute just call about your website, and I can offer suggestions sort of specific to your situation. Like I said, my expertise is definitely in the WordPress space, but if you are on Shopify or one of those other platforms, I can definitely, if I can't help you, I can point you in the right direction. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a lot of information, but really important stuff that I think we need to know, especially about speed, optimization. We don't want our websites to crash during this time. I think just such great advice here. And if anybody watches the replay, because I know a lot of our users watch the recording afterwards, please reach out to James, reach out to us at support@digitalboost.co.nz. We've got our experts waiting to either send you off to James or answer whatever questions we have to answer. James, thank you so much. It's, I've watched the other Q&As that you did with Anamari, and they're fantastic. So I also recommend, if anyone else wants to look a little bit more at security, James has got a lot to say in the other Q&As. Please look those up. And I look forward to having you back. We'll see. We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
but,
definitely happy to talk again.
Yeah, happy shopping, everyone. Happy making lots of money during this season. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. And don't forget to sign up for Thursday's workshop. If you want to get your website marketing, your email marketing down, then that's going to be the time to figure all that out and ask those questions. Thank you again, James. So lovely to see you. Lovely to have you on.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming along.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Matewa, everyone. Bye.